stakes. This is high risk. They were pressured into the decision, and it backfired.
They did their best. They were able to pull off what could have been a very good comeback. Just getting that keep is way more than we expected them to be able to do. That last team fight was so good by Gale Force, but it just wasn't enough. Like you said, the call was a little bit wrong there. They could have maybe backed up and still defended, but even with 2 keeps down, you could see the pressure, where the pressure came from to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought really they would go for the keep, take the keep, move back, and maybe go for the boss. Grab the boss, make the move with the boss maybe through the bot lane. Then something like this would still have been risky, but I guess it would have been the better decision in 2020 hindsight. Either way, we're going to hear our experts talk about the game and, of course, about this incredible finish. The guys, take it away.
Team Dignitas steps one step closer to being able to keep their tournament lives going for at least another day and eliminating Gale Force Esports from the Western Clash. Dread, as soon as we were off the desk last time, you said you really liked the composition for Gale Force Esports. So was it what went wrong for them, or was it what Dignitas did right?
I feel like Dig did do a lot of things right. I guess I liked it because it fed it into the strengths of Gale Force Esports, and if they would be able to snowball that very heavy early game. And Dig didn't really punish their early game very hard, and so I thought there would be a moment, but overall it just felt like the team fighting was a huge thing. And also, I feel like the Abathur build did hurt, especially in the late game when looking at the style of play that they were trying to make happen, not going into the Adrenal Overload. It really made Murden that much less of a threat, it felt, and the snowball just worked against GFE.
Yeah, Jay-How, it seemed like the Globals really were able to keep Abathur at bay, even getting the kill early on in the mid lane versus Michael Udall.
Yeah, sometimes when you play Abathur, sometimes you want to push out, you want to maximize as much as you can, but when you're playing against the double global and Snitch, he's an Abathur player himself. He made, or actually I think that was Mene that came up. They make no bones about it. They were looking for that. They looked for their opportunities. They took it. That actually is what gave them a lot of their early lead, is that global. Obviously with Abathur, it's much more difficult to collect those tributes, but we saw early advantages plus that early curse.
Yeah, I mean, overall, you saw just this last call, the desperation to go in. They took an obscene amount of damage on that bottom keep going through there. You saw the Gus push them into that mid keep, also taking a ton of damage, and it just wasn't enough. Once the respawns came in, they had a few squishy targets, eliminating the majority of the damage from it. The clone got it close. I mean, 17% in the end is not like, it's not like they were so far away from getting the victory, but I feel like even with that call being a massive risk, it was not nearly as cleanly executed as it could have been.
Did it seem, Dread, like that was their only option to go for a core right there?
I would say no. I personally felt like I can understand the thought process because it felt like there's never going to be a situation where we have a better chance than this. But again, Mene, I feel like didn't Gus properly. He could have played that a little bit different to where it wouldn't have been even close to the 17%,
right.
Which is why I feel like I would have much rather see them just try and open up the map and then consider like bait or some kind of power play when it comes to maybe the next boss that's going to be looking to spawn. If Mene had stepped it up, I feel like that wouldn't have been like, here's the 17 so close, and that's why I feel like there would have been better options. That being said, it was still, the cards were really against them in that position. I can understand the desperation.
I really wonder, I want to go back, you talked about team fighting, they struggled a little bit. We saw a lot of clones onto the Zeratul, and Michael Udall is a very well-known Zeratul player. It seemed like with Zeratul, high risk, high reward, cloning that Zeratul, it seemed like he would go in and they'd focus target that and instantly turn it into a 5 versus 4. And it really seemed like that might have gone against them, maybe cloning a Li Ming, maybe once or twice at that point. It feels like they could have maybe poked some damage down, maybe played a little bit safer, but it definitely went against them a lot of times.
Well, guys, we are going to take a break. Before we do so, or while we're doing so, we want to hear from you. So make sure you tweet using the hashtag HGC. Let us know what you're thinking of the Western Clash so far. Maybe even our impromptu casting session up here at the desk. We got some pretty cool tweets from you about that. But yes, we are going into a break. When we return, it's all or nothing on Gale Force Esports in this elimination match.
Terra Marines are the toughest frag magnets in the galaxy. But when they're in trouble, guess who they call? Medic! Winning a battle is more than just shooting enemy soldiers. It's about saving your own. I protect every member of my squad with my life. Sometimes I think I'm the only thing holding them together. Who am I? I'm Lieutenant Morales. I'm your medic. I'm gonna need a lot of bandages. Terra Marines are the toughest frag magnets in the galaxy. But when they're in trouble, guess who they call? Medic! Winning a battle is more than just shooting enemy soldiers. It's about saving your own. I protect every member of my squad with my life. Sometimes I think I'm the only thing holding them together. Who am I? I'm Lieutenant Morales. I'm your medic. I'm gonna need a lot of bandages. Terra Marine.
Experience has taught the Protoss that when we do not fight together, we die alone. But we shall not see defeat this day. For we stand as one. Our differences will not divide us, but make us stronger. Together, we will defend the Nexus with honor and earn our glory. I am Hierarch Artanis, leader of all Protoss. And in unity, there is strength.
We have a lot of fun as a team. We're kind of insane. I think we're like the boy band of HOTS. Like we all just like run around and like dance and sing all the time, just trying to have a good time. I feel really good going into this tournament. I think we've done a lot of prep work. We had a boot camp, and I think we're really going to surprise a lot of people. I think people are kind of sleeping on us, thinking that we're going to lose first round of Fnatic, and I think we're going to run the tables. We essentially spent like 6 days just living, playing Heroes of the Storm. That's like all we were doing. But we spent a lot of time not just playing the game, but just like theory crafting and talking about what kind of strategies we want to run. I think IM Katowice is awesome. I think the whole venue is just super cool. It's huge. I think the hero stage is probably one of the coolest hero stages I've seen. But I definitely feel like us, like Gale Force is the dark horse.
Michael Udall showing a lot of confidence in this video before the tournament. Really thinking that they were going to be able to upset Fnatic potentially even, at least have a great showing, but they have had such a difficult time so far, guys.
They even called themselves the dark horse. He also talked about trying to theory craft on a lot of things, which it seemed like a lot of that theory crafting yesterday didn't really play out. They went back to what was normal and things started to do well for them. They won yesterday afternoon, but now they're going up against Dignitas, who has a storied history, has been one of the best teams, and now they found themselves down 2-0.
But overall, when you look at the event, I mean, the general consensus was EU is better. And if we look at the event so far, I mean, North America has taken one game. That was Teammate off Dignitas. In this entire tournament, it's what, 9-1 we said?
Yeah, it is. Was it 9-1 before?
I believe
this
it's
or after?
9-1 overall between NA and EU when they've matched up in this event. And I mean, right now, EU is just bringing the pain.
They are.
It's a full NA desk.
This is the only time we get.
We're in Europe, and they are defending their region well. I mean, I actually think GFE is playing fairly well. We saw some good promise. Their drafting is far smarter, but Dignitas is just playing better.
I would say out of all of the teams that we see from EU, Dignitas probably shows the least amount of finesse. Would you agree here, Dred?
Yeah, definitely. They are by far the most straightforward team in the European region when it comes to gameplay style overall, and then just definitely the drafting as well. But Gale Force Esports still, it just doesn't look like they have it in them, at least to be able to change, the circumstances that they're in. Now going down 0-2. My biggest thing for GFE, if I want to see something change, is Crowan has to be Warrior. I think that would change a lot for them. Even looking at North America and the results there, they started with Equinox on Warrior, and it was watch Equinox get caught out. And they slowly moved Crowan over to the Warrior, and things got really a little bit better, and a little bit better. In this tournament, it seems like they've gotten so much Li Ming that they have, always put Crowan onto the Li Ming and then putting Equinox on the Warrior. And I think that is going to be hurting this team. And I really would like to see in this final map on Battlefield of Eternity that we get Crowan on a Warrior.
Well, we're moving to Battlefield of Eternity now. Gale Force Esports has opted to go for a Battleground choice, but I still feel for them, or fear for them a little bit, especially since the team fighting from this series from Dignitas has been excellent.
Dude, they're on fire. And it's not even just the team fighting, but if they're in a bad situation, Mene is so good at finding a way to turn that into a good situation. Even if they're not winning the team fight, he'll go find an Abathur kill. He'll go rotate, he'll push a lane out. He's so fast at just making that snap call and watching the map during a team fight. I don't know if there's a player in this tournament that's as good as that as Mene is.
But it goes back to exactly what Dred said, is the Warrior play on the front line. It probably is time for a shift. It's been so hit or miss through the first two games. And I say hit or miss loosely. It's been a little bit rough, and I think that they need to find some type of middle ground, allow players to excel at what they're doing at, and just play a safe hero. For what it's worth, Gale Force played this map 6 times. They're 5-1.
Wow.
We've now kicking off the draft of Game 3 of this series. It is a best of 5. Gale Force Esports must win every game from here on out to keep their tournament lives alive. We're starting with a Tastar ban from Dignitas.
We have to keep in mind that when looking at the North American region, this is probably GFE's best map across the board, just based on they were not only how many games they've been able to play, but it was the only one they beat their respective North American partners here, taking out both Tempo Storm and beating Teammate. And with Dignitas struggling against Teammate on this map, it's a moment where I feel like if Gale Force is going to get a game, this is it.
Yeah, Gale Force were 5-1. Coming out of HGC North America here. So understanding that they needed to sacrifice the first pick that might have been more important for them before, trying to make some adjustment to allow them to be able to get a win here.
we've seen 2 first-pick Zeratools, and this is a map that Gale Force, in the last 3 times that they played it in North America, they had early prioritization on Zeratool, sometimes later, but they've had this prioritization towards Zeratool over and over. Early Ragnaros pick, though, on the side of Dignitas, I did not see that coming.
I mean, it is one of their higher priority heroes just based on Xaylia, and it works well on this map, so I think I'm more than comfortable with it. It does show Dignitas. I mean, with Malfurion off the table, I guess it does make a bit more sense. We do see Gale Force picking up the Li Ming, though. It's going to be Li Ming's best map and locking in the ETC, which means
J-How.
Crowan is on Li Ming.
Yeah. Picking up Zeratool for themselves is Dignitas, and we've seen Xaylia, you know, he's been making plays on certain heroes. This is another battleground that we were talking about, is that Battlefield of Eternity, they do struggle with at times. They've had a little bit of problems, especially against Team 8, so we'll see if that is something that they can use against Gale Force. Zeratool,
You know, the interesting thing about this to me, though, is like they've shown Zeratool Ragnaros. That's probably just Snitch Xaylia, and they've kind of choreographed those 2 heroes, which often tend to be fairly flexible in the wildcard options for their team.
if you're Gale Force, I feel like you have to ban out Jaina here.
Or they just pick it in this, like, right now, right? I mean, we still have the opportunity for another pick coming up from Dig, and it meets into that Wombo combo. It does hurt a bit when it comes to the race, and they don't have necessarily the best defensive tools if they do commit to the Jaina here, so I would like to see something considering the race a bit more, but it's just going to be the Murd in there for JPL. So now for GFE, where are they going to move into these bans? Probably the Jaina. It makes the most sense to go into the Jaina, not letting many have that.
Yeah, it takes away one portion of the combo. I mean, we already see Ragnaros there, Sulfura Smash can follow up on VP. It's not as popular, but it does work. It's very effective, so if they can time that right, it can be very effective in terms of getting those kills. On the side of Gale Force, though, I really wonder if Dignitas might look towards a Tychus ban. Tychus obviously does okay, but he can help control the front line, contributes a little bit there, and then ETC's passive will obviously amp it up a little bit. Not quite amp it up Lucio style, but will definitely Rockstar style.
There's the Jaina. The other range assassin that you have to think about here, I guess, is just the Vala, the Monster Hunter build that does exist, and we haven't seen much of it at all.
Yeah, it seems to like that it has kind of dropped off overall. The hero I'm actually looking for GFE is going to be Falstad. Denying the Falstad opportunity for Dignitas, if they want to move, they don't have to, but I think it complements the race a reasonable amount when it comes to the Immortals. But beyond anything, that side soaking is the only way I see Dignitas losing this game, is if GFE out-soaks Dignitas, and if the Falstad's going to be core of that.
I think Falstad is perfect for multiple reasons, and you said it, taking it away. You're going to see Xaylia on Zeratool, you're going to see Snitch probably on the Ragnaros. Mene does not do well on Tychus. I went back and I researched a lot of his data, especially around BlizzCon. There is a reason he does not play that hero anymore. And so this is an opportunity, if you take away Falstad, you take away one of his better heroes and force him onto something potentially weaker.
I wonder if Dignitas is feeling confident enough to potentially go for that Sylvanas if that's an option left open, but it will be the Greyman ban, just worried about that melee assassin and, of course, the huge race potential. Just the Worgen form does so much damage.
I do like the ban on the Greyman, but again, I can't help but feel like the Falstad is something I am more concerned about. They're worried about Mene's hero pool, or that also, I guess, leaving it up for Dig makes the most sense, hoping Gale Force doesn't pick it up. But I guess I would expect them to do so just because the influence that, you know, Yudal seems to have on the game when he is on that hero. We'll find out. They still need a support at this point in the game, but Rhaegar is available, so, you know, I'm guessing we're going to see Akaphase go in that direction. Karazim is up and is more appealing on this map than some of the others. That being said, it's not so appealing into Dignitas' draft right now.
Right.
They have run Illidan. They're going to go with the Tychus. That's going to get Falstad over to Dignitas. Might be a little bit of a mistake, but definitely something they are very comfortable running.
So this is a weird position to be in the draft for Dig, just because their support priority has been some of the lowest ever across the board. You can almost bank on Dig getting a support warrior for the first half of the draft almost all the time. So now, do we see, where does Bakery go when it comes to his support? Is it going to be the Karazim coming out for him?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Karazim and then Falstad here for Mene.
I feel like the Karazim works well when it comes to committing to the race, but outside of that, as a raw support, I don't find it too appealing. Now that Rhaegar and Malphite are off the table, but I I might even dare say I like Lucio
Really?
in this situation. I don't see any last pick that Gale Force could probably drop that I would be overly terrified of. And there's the Nazeebo.
Wow.
They're going to go with the Karazim. It's just, but again, I personally feel like there's a lot of value in Lucio as a hero. Nazeebo for that raw poke as well. It's going to be a comfort for Mane, so not moving into the fall set. Leaving it up now, GFE, are they going Thrall?
What about Alarak?
Yeah, you could see Fan on Alarak. That is a rare, showing when it comes to BOE. Does it work well? Not too much. It doesn't seem like it's got much kill potential onto almost any hero other than Zeratul. And if you hit a combo on Zeratul, pretty much any other hero would have gotten that kill because he obviously messed up.
Kick it old school Sonya.
Maybe into the Nazeebo is kind of a little bit more appealing. Decent survivability, okay on the race-ish.
Tyrael?
I like Tyrael the most, but I mean, does that sound like Gale Force to you?
Maybe. If they swapped roles around quite a bit, though. And I know they were trying to lock that down.
Fan can play a really good Li Ming.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
They put
Yeah.
Fan on Li Ming, Equinox on ETC, Mike plays.
Artanis.
Whoa.
Artanis.
We're bringing in ADE, boys.
That will probably be Equinox on the Artanis, and maybe that swaps Fan over to Li Ming. And with Kron over on ETC.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Now, Artanis is really good in the race. I believe this is the first Artanis pick of the tournament, so that's really exciting. The swap's phenomenal, but you got to think about things like the zombie wall potentially getting in the way of that. It's not something that you're going to see often, but it's an option. It is there. But I do love the swap when it comes to fighting over the Immortals, considering there are no minions there. There's nothing to stop that, and you can make some big plays happen, but you do put yourself in quite the risk.
You absolutely do. Defensively, looking at these drafts, I feel like no team has a major advantage when it comes to, the raw defensive positioning. When it goes off to the race, I'm going to hand it over to GFE purely off that last pick, Artanis. But when it comes to just that long distance poke in the mid game, levels probably 1 through, I'm going to go up to every 10, I think, that the poke exists better on the side of GFE. But when Nazeebo ramps up, I feel like if there is not a heavy, lopsided experience advantage for Dignitas, I feel like Dignitas is really going to gain, that traction. Everybody kind of, it seems to be undervaluing the late game aspect of Nazeebo.
I mean, Nazeebo's 4-0, 100% win rate in this event so far.
All right, guys, quickly before the game starts, starting with you, Jake, predictions?
I got to give it to Dig, man. Dig is just looking way too strong right now, and in this map, although the map won't necessarily go super late, I think they have it.
Let's go to game 4. Give me Gale Force in this game.
Dread.
Gale Force.
Oh!
There we have it. The game is ready. We'll see if Gale Force can bring it back in this best of 5. We're going once again to Tetcher and Kaldor.
Thank you very much, guys. Yes, it is game number 3. I am Tetcher, and introducing the team on the left is Kaldor.
We have Snitch on the Ragnaros, Bakery on the Karazim here, JBL on Murden, Mane on Nazeebo, and Zelia is playing the Zeratul for Team Dignitas.
And on the right-hand side, it is Gale Force Esports, Crowan on the Li Ming, Akaface playing the Rhaegar, Michael Udall playing the Tychus, Fan on the Artanis, and Equinox playing the ETC. Like the analysis says, first Artanis of the tournament, the Spirit of a Dude.
And talking about Spirit, it's nice to hear that the NA panel hasn't lost their Spirit just yet.
Oh!
We still have some hope left here, and actually, whoa! That was a great swap by Fan. Fan showing up and showing Mane how it's done. First blood for North America.
That might just be the longest range swap I have ever seen to start a game. Like we said, NA, good reason to not lose faith yet.
Fan is done. He's angry. He's like, okay, boys, I got this.
I am done
if I have to
messing
carry
around.
this with the Artanis, I'll do it. But I'm not going to lose without taking a single map here. That's just not going to happen.
Well, let's start talking about the talents a little bit after that massacre at level 1. We do have the amateur opponent for Artanis. A beautiful talent on this map, 150 extra bonus damage to minions, monsters, and mercenaries, which includes the Immortal. Other talents, fairly standard still, despite the talent Widowmakers on Nazeebo and Iron Fists coming in for Karazim.
Yeah, it's nice to see that also our viewers here on Twitter have not lost hope just yet. So far, it was a pretty bleak day for North America, but Gale Force is hoping to change that now in game number 3. And they started off with the kill, of course, against Mane, which definitely helps. But let's see how much they can actually do here. Fan definitely showing up here, and they need someone to step it up right now. That's the only thing I feel that they can do to take Dignitas down, because the momentum is definitely in favor of the Europeans.
Dig want revenge, but Equinox with the lovely power slide, putting himself in a nice safe position. Even like Udon, able to get a little bit of harassment, but a little bit of an early flip on the Snitch there, and he, as such, he will be able to pull back. But JPL not able to land that Storm Bolt to turn it around for a third time.
Yeah, at this point, one of the things that also are quite important is that with Karazim going probably into the cleanse on level 16, it's quite some time until you can finally rely on that. And of course, until then, they need to be a little bit careful, especially of those ETC slides that we are going to see there. Both of the teams, for now, dancing around the Immortal and looking for some extra free damage and maybe the potential sneaky kill.
Zombie Wall is dropped there nicely by Maynard, zoning out ETC, who is focused down. Kill count evened up by Dignitas.
Yeah, Equinox is definitely having a bit of a rough time in these games. The analysts have already been talking about it a bit earlier, and this time he was again on cooldown, couldn't slide out, and it was a great move by Maynard to block his path quite nicely here.
Man, you're making me nervous, dude. That flip very, very close to landing once again onto another member of Dignitas, where they could have maybe turned around. But the poke damage is very much working in Gale Force's favor. That Lee Ming doing exactly what he's supposed to on this map, poking from a safe position, surrounded by friends.
And I mean, you already talked a little bit about the level 1 talent on the side of Artanis here. The amateur opponent is definitely a huge asset in their favor, going for the race. That combined with the Lightning Bond on Rhaegar is just intense damage that the melee heroes alone can dish out. And then you always have the poke of a hero like Tigers, and also, of course, Grown here with his Lee Ming. So Gale Force is definitely set up for a very nice Immortal battle, no doubt about it.
Yes, they are. And we have even more single target damage here coming in. Oh, hang on, JPL. Dwarf Toss, nicely done. Bakery, though, a bit surrounded. JPL giving him someone to jump to. Xalia with a teleport. And he gets flipped, but he's still in an okay position. The chase is on. Equinox with the chase, but Xalia getting out there. So many escapes by Dignitas here. But yeah, we do have Leeming with the charged blast here, so even more extra damage in terms of working people down.
Fan is doing everything right now. He was just the entire time on Immortal duty. He saw the fight evolve to the left and moved in to help out, and then immediately went back to make sure that they get this Immortal. So Gale Force, they might be a little bit behind in experience, but that's going to change very soon. The red team is claiming the Immortal with a pretty sizable shield here as well.
Yep, it looks pretty good. Now can Gale Force use that to give themselves a good XP advantage. Right now they're a tiny bit behind, but nothing unsurmountable. They're going to be able to push through with this. They have everyone up here except for Artanis. And yes, Artanis would have done bonus damage to the structures here with amateur opponent, but he's a melee hero. That would put him in a very dangerous position. He doesn't technically have a self-escape.
Keeping him in a solo lane makes a whole lot of sense, but now we have Zeratul at the top, and Xalia with the kill against Tychus. Equinox gets his cooldown back, moves in, but the problem is that Xalia jumps in once more. Confirms kill number 3 for Team Dignitas, and the Immortal has also been taken out.
Yeah, Snitch was sitting in multi-core mode, able to work that down very nicely. Groen, get a scout out here, gonna see what's going on, and very nearly runs into JPL in the process. In the meantime, Zeratul has gone down to the bot lane to soak against Artanis, who is going to assist his team with the Fallen Shaman camp.
Dignitas is playing this quite nicely so far. I mean, Gale Force got the first Immortal. It didn't do as much as they were hoping for. And it was mainly due to Xalia simply rotating to the top. And of course, down to the bottom lane, Artanis couldn't really tell. He soaked an extra wave. But thanks to the 2 kills that we saw top lane, Dignitas finds themselves now in a lead, an entire level lead nearly, even though they did not get the Immortal. So pretty impressive start into the game, all things considered.
Yeah, Dignitas looking very, very strong now. Possibly the strongest they have looked this entire tournament so far. JPL with a nice preemptive dwarf toss to get out the way of Equinox here. But Equinox here with that Echo Pedal is going to help his team try and guide in this Fallen Shaman camp to try and get some fort damage.
Tychus decided, by the way, in favor of the bigger they are, so they're not going for in the rhythm here, not trying to stack the damage. He has 3, if you count Karazim, 4 melee heroes against him, so you could very well have decided to go for in the rhythm and get that extra damage in. Of course, later on, then also with the extra life leech on 13. But the 7 talent was basically a given. I mean, if you're playing a Battlefield of Eternity, you want to have the extra range that you get from the quarterback, just so if there is a stalemate around the Immortal, you have a bit of a range that you can abuse to put constant damage onto the Immortal and poke it down.
Yeah, the Tychus grenade, very much a bit slower in terms of poke damage than Lee Ming, but every tiny bit helps, and it means that Tychus can poke and also scout a little bit without putting himself in a dangerous situation. Going to see once again Gale Force get a little bit of a head start on the race, but this time it is actually a race.
Yeah, it is definitely a race, and right now it's currently looking very good. Very even, actually, yeah. And it's a little bit better even for the team in red, so as expected. We talked about amateur opponent, we talked about Lightning Bond, but this is really the moment that it comes down to. Who attacks, who defends, how are they going to play this?
It's only 1800 in it, but now the focus has come from Dignitas to defend, and they move in to try and do some damage. Stitch from above, doing some good damage to that Meteor. JPL jumped him a very low health, but the kill is dropped onto Equinox. Once again, Stitch continues the chase onto Arcaface. The fan, in the meantime, is dueling with JPL, and Maynard is waiting for a zombie wall to come back up. Nice grenade to try and delay the chase. Flip lands onto Bakery, but Bakery just turns around and punches him until he falls down.
Another double kill against Gale Force. Down goes Atanis. Zelia wasn't even with him anymore at that point. He already moved straight to the Immortal to apply the extra damage. And during all of this, we still have a camp pushing through the bot lane, which is another big issue right now for Gale Force. They are nearly 2 levels down. They have the Immortal against them. They lost the wall down to the bot lane, and also they have to face heroic abilities on the opponent's side. This is a disaster for them in this potentially last map of the series.
Yeah, they need to get themselves back into it somehow. The Immortal, not the biggest shield in the world, but every little bit helps. This fort is 100% down, and that actually gives Snitch a location where he can jump into Molten Core if it is off cooldown, which it is. So he can just siege the base and make sure that Immortal keeps going. In the meantime, though, Gale Force going to try and use some time here to get themselves to that level 10 by taking this top 4.
They need the heroics. Interestingly enough, we have Karazim still not with a decision on his heroic. Usually, if you go into the build that we see from Bakery with a damage focus, you will at least use the palm here. But he's currently threatening at least the 7-sided. So if any of the tanks moves in, there's the 7-sided. He takes it.
And he has been very aggressive this game so far with the rest of his team. Here comes the flip stage dive from above. Gale Force getting their heroics. Good damage onto Brunin, who immediately drops the Avatar. And Central will land on Artanis after this is over. The hammer lands on Rhaegar and gets the kill.
Down goes Rhaegar. The healer is dead. Mike Uda with a counter kill on the other hand against Ragnaros. But it's Li Ming that falls next. Still Dignitas on the move, going for Equinox once again, and he is down. It's a triple for Dignitas. They are jumping in again as Fan is the next target.
The zombie wall is dropped. Fan has nowhere to go. He drops down. And Dignitas, despite getting a 4-for-1, the respawn timers are too short and their health bars are too low. They're going to go back to base with what is basically a 2-level lead fully.
I mean, an 8 mini 30 keep, you're not going to complain about that, are you?
Oh, that is very nice to have. And it worked out very much in their favor, that push. They didn't even use Molten Core. The Sulfura Smash was perfectly on point. They played that very well with only Ragnaros going down, and he still got his heroic off.
I mean, it's a brutal day to be a fan of an A right now. 9 kills against 2 levels behind your own 2 in the series. And if Dignitas wins this, then the score between Europe and North America is 10-1, which is absolutely brutal. We need to see a sign of life from the North American team. They're trying to go for a bit of a trap here. They're attempting to get a kill, hoping for Zeratul, for anybody to move in so they can burst them away. They need a win and they need it fast, or they're going to go down in flames.
They're re-rotating instead, though, down to that fallen Shaman camp. Doesn't look like they started. Yes, Sacrifice will start that after they scout out the bush. And Artanis hopping around where ETC is just to make sure that there was no kills over there.
I'm really scared for them right now. They were trying the defense at the bot lane. They lost the keep. They are far behind already. And the problem that they have is that those 30 seconds that are left until the Immortal is respawning are not going to be enough to get level 13. So they will be a talent behind. They have the choice of either letting the Immortal go and try to just wait for 13. But I don't think they can afford to do that. They will have to take at least the poke fight, at least try and do something here. It's incredibly difficult.
They are in an incredibly rough position, but saving grace, all of their heroics are available. I think I would have personally preferred ETC to go with Moshpit just to have something potentially game-changing. The stage dive isn't going to do a huge amount of damage at this deficit.
I agree. I mean, yes, there is, of course, interrupt against it, but they need